Prejudice is one of my favorite books, and there's a reason behind that. The costumes. I love the dresses from the Regency era, from the empire waist to the long, beautiful flowiness. So today I am going to make one. Okay, let's go.
In order to create this dress, I used
fabric
from a sheet and folded it in half, similar to the way you might fold a birthday card. Now, if you are for some reason not like 8 feet tall, I highly recommend trimming the sheet to approximately how tall you are from shoulder to foot. This will also provide leftover fabric that will later be used for the sleeves. Yep, it's good. And now to create the beautiful ruched neckline. Cut out an obnoxiously wide neckline in which you will later add elastic to. Trim down the edges, and sew the straps of the dress together. Make sure to try on the dress in several different ways, because at this point the gown will somewhat resemble a trash bag. Loose, baggy, yet very versatile. Wear it as a fancy skirt, a one-shouldered prom dress, or I don't know exactly what I was doing there. If you are more mature and disciplined than me, which you probably are, continue working on the dress by sewing up the side. Then I started making channels for the elastic to go through. After you have used most of the pins on your pin cushion to reinforce the long channel on the neckline, iron it and sew it down. Then slide your elastic through like a Josh going through a tunnel. I made channels throughout the whole neckline for the elastic, but then decided that I didn't like it that way, so I took out the elastic on the shoulders.
Also, if you're wondering how I'm going to achieve the empire waist look with this dress, which is currently resembling a raggedy old Greek toga, I'm going to take a piece of this and wrap it around to create that effect, and hopefully it will look good. And now that we are finished making the main part of this dress, I'm now going to work on the sleeves.
To make the sleeves, I started by measuring my arm loosely and comparing that measurement to the fabric armhole. However, I wanted the sleeves to be puffy, meaning I would have to add extra fabric to the material to make them cinched up. 20 inches was the approximate measurement I used for the top of the sleeve. However, I really made the sleeve about 28 inches. I then cut it out and threw it through my sewing machine on a basting stitch to make it quite puffy. Then I pinned the sleeve to the top of the dress and nervously sewed it in place. Then it was time to make the sleeve shorter and cuter by hemming it. If your hem is quite puffy like mine was, iron it down until it is as crisp as a piece of burnt toast. Then shove the old elastic through the channel until it comes out bunchily perfect. Then I hemmed the bottom of the dress because I have a general dislike for tripping over things and falling. But if you enjoy doing that, leave your dress about 2 feet too long. Sew the hem in place, flatten it down with your powerful heating tool of punishment, and...
By the way, if you have not yet noticed the gorgeous locks of hair limply draped upon my forehead, I got bangs, which I'm super excited about. I really like them, but I'm also excited because a lot of the main characters in at least some of the Regency movies I can think of have bangs. Now I can kind of recreate some of those photos, which is super exciting. And now we are going to do this.
Yes, the waistband. Take your long piece of fabric, cut it to a bit bigger than your waist, trim the length, and fold and iron the edges until they have neatly submitted to the iron's strong will. Sew that all in place, and now we need a closure. I chose a button, but you could use snaps, hooks and eyes, or even super glue. Just kidding, don't use super glue. I marked where I wanted the little button to dwell, hand sewed it in place, and did this cool, impressive thing to the other fabric until it turned into this buttonhole. And finally, the dress was completed.
You thought we were almost done with the video, didn't you? Well, here's the thing. No Regency era young lady is complete without her Mr. Darcy, shall we say. So now let us go to Hobby Lobby, where my goal is to find a Mr. Darcy type head and fix him up a little bit. This will work. Welcome to Head Painting 101.
Step 1. Look up pictures for inspiration on the head you will be creating. Step 2. Lay an old towel down to rest the tired head upon. Steps 3, 4, and 5. Paint your handsome styrofoam head and then add hair. I hot glued yarn all over his head and then trimmed it. And in the end, he should look something like this.
Okay, now it is time for the final reveal. Well, hello there. I'm Elizabeth Bennet. So now what we're going to do is try to recreate this iconic photo.
Dear Mr. Darcy, It is with utmost uncertainty that you shall be informed of my care for you. Even though you assume that I am barely tolerable, I hope to be enough for you one day. The true question is, are you good enough for me? I remain gorgeously proper with my regency bangs and my long beautiful dress, but you, well, I hesitate. Your stoic, unchanging facial expression quite severely contrasts my own dramatic ones, and your lack of legs and feet is quite inconvenient when dancing. You're quite introverted, and although you cannot actually open your mouth to speak, your lack of communication vexed me so very much that I told you,
"You were the last man in the world that I could ever be prevailed upon to marry,"
and smacked your masking tape-held styrofoam head right off your flimsy duct tape body. I stormed off furiously, but soon felt quite sorry for you, your head laying detached from the rest of you in the grass. Quite in despair, I mourned, but then remembered that I can always just reattach your head, which I then did. Do not fear, Mr. Darcy, for now we shall dance happily, and I shall talk to you, though you can't really respond, and together we shall live happily ever after, at least until your head falls off again. Love, Elizabeth.